Wow, talk about a travel nightmare. Heathrow Airport completely shut down because of a fire at a national grid substation.
Yeah, it really highlights how vulnerable essential infrastructure can be to something like a power outage.
Absolutely. Thousands of travelers were stranded. Trade was impacted.
And it wasn't just the airport. Thousands of homes also lost power in the area.
It seems like a single point of failure can cause massive disruption. Willie Walsh, former CEO of British Airways, didn't hold back. He called it a clear planning failure, pointing to the risks of relying on a single power source.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? What if this happened at other critical locations? What about hospitals or financial centers?
It definitely raises questions about how resilient our systems are.
Definitely. And beyond just resilience, how quickly can we recover from these kinds of events?
We need to have backup plans and redundant systems in place.
You're exactly right. This situation at Heathrow is a stark reminder that we can't just assume everything will always work perfectly.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about self-driving cars. Waymo is out there claiming their autonomous vehicles are safer than human drivers.
Well, it's a bold claim, and they have been actively operating their robotaxi service in several cities.
But have there been any incidents or concerns about their safety?
Well, there have been some recalls and even investigations by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA.
Really? I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, it's not always smooth sailing with this new technology. And it's interesting to note that some other big companies like GM's Cruise, Apple, and even Uber have scaled back or even abandoned their driverless efforts altogether.
That makes you wonder if fully autonomous driving is further away than we thought.
It's a complex challenge, and public perception plays a role, too.
For sure. Remember that video of a Waymo car going around in circles in a parking lot?
Yeah, I saw that when it went viral. It kind of shows that people aren't completely sold on the idea yet.
Yeah. Moving on, Boeing is facing more scrutiny over its safety practices.
This time, it's a wrongful death lawsuit from the family of John Barnett.
He was the whistleblower who raised concerns about safety issues on the 787 Dreamliner.
Exactly. The lawsuit claims that Boeing retaliated against Barnett for speaking out, and that this ultimately contributed to his death.
What were some of the specific concerns that Barnett had raised?
He had found non-conforming parts and issues with oxygen cylinders.
So these were pretty serious safety issues.
Yes, they could have had potentially catastrophic consequences if they hadn't been addressed.
This isn't the first time Boeing's safety culture has been questioned.
Right. Remember the 737 MAX door panel incident? It seems like there's a pattern here.
It's a reminder that when it comes to air travel, safety has to be the absolute top priority.
No doubt about that. And there needs to be a culture where employees feel safe speaking up about any concerns they have.
Switching gears to economic policy, President Trump has invoked emergency powers to boost domestic production of critical minerals.
He's aiming to reduce our reliance on imports, especially from China.
So this is a move driven by national security concerns.
It seems so. The executive order specifically cites the need to avoid dependence on hostile foreign powers for these essential materials.
And what kind of materials are we talking about here?
These are things like rare earth elements, lithium, cobalt, the building blocks for many of our technologies.
Right, things we need for smartphones, electric cars, defense systems.
Exactly. They're crucial for a whole range of industries.
And this move comes at a time of heightened trade tensions with China.
Absolutely. It seems like the U.S. is trying to secure its supply chains and reduce its vulnerability.
Now let's talk about Tesla. They seem to be facing a whole bunch of challenges lately.
You're not kidding. Vandalism, a major recall, falling sales, and even some blowback from Elon Musk's political activities.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot to deal with. Let's start with the vandalism. I heard it's gotten pretty bad.
It has. Some people have even set fire to Tesla property. It's gotten so serious that the Attorney General has called it domestic terrorism in some cases.
Domestic terrorism? Wow, that's pretty extreme.
It is. And the potential penalties are pretty severe, too. In some cases, we're talking about 20 years in prison.
So there are some strong feelings out there.
Definitely. It seems like some of the anger is directed at Elon Musk's personal views and actions.
And then there's a Cybertruck recall. What was the problem there?
There's a trim panel that could detach and become a road hazard.
Oh, so a potential safety issue.
Right. And it affects over 46,000 trucks.
On top of all that, Tesla's sales have been dropping.
They have. And their stock price has taken a hit as well.
It seems like they're at a crossroads right now.
They are. They're facing increased competition, and some analysts are questioning whether their current models are aging out.
Some people even say that Elon Musk's political involvement is hurting the brand.
That's a valid point. There have been protests outside of Tesla dealerships and even some vandalism of Cybertrucks with political messages.
It's a complex situation.
Hmm.
It seems like Tesla's success might depend on whether they can separate their brand from Elon Musk's personal brand.
It will be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Now, for a quick rundown of some other interesting business and tech news.
Sounds good.
Mark Zuckerberg recently criticized The Social Network, the movie about Facebook. He says it wasn't very accurate.
Especially when it came to his motivations for creating Facebook. He says the movie makes it seem like he started it to impress women after a breakup.
But he was already in a relationship with his current wife at the time, right?
Right. Zuckerberg says the movie took a lot of creative liberties and wasn't really true to life.
It's a good reminder that Hollywood doesn't always get things right.
Definitely. And it's interesting to hear Zuckerberg's perspective on how his story was portrayed.
On a more positive note, there's a company called Photonics Industrial that has started mass production of something called 2D fiber arrays.
These are important components for high-speed data transfer, particularly in AI and data centers.
So this could have a big impact on the tech industry.
It could. Faster and more efficient data transfer is essential as we rely more and more on AI and big data.
Speaking of big moves in the business world, Grupo Aeroportuario del Pacífico has refinanced a $40 million credit line.
That's a company that operates a bunch of airports in Mexico and Jamaica.
So it sounds like a routine financial move.
Yes, it gives them more financial flexibility.
Here's some news that might be helpful for job seekers in the Rocklin, California area. Jessup University is hosting a career and internship expo.
It's open to the public, so anyone looking for a job or internship should definitely check it out.
It's great that they're providing this opportunity for the community.
It's a win-win. It helps job seekers connect with potential employers, and it helps businesses find qualified candidates.
Now for something a little more fun. Shaquille O'Neal and Mark Cuban have both invested in BeatBox Beverages.
You know, that ready-to-drink alcohol company?
It's kind of an unusual pairing, don't you think?
It is, but I guess they both see potential in the company. Cuban actually invested in BeatBox on Shark Tank a while back.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. And now Shaq is launching his own flavor.
It seems like BeatBox is gaining traction. They're currently valued at around $200 million.
Not bad. Finally, Lockheed Martin's stock took a dip after they lost a major Air Force contract to Boeing.
It was for the F-47 fighter jet. That's a big deal in the defense industry.
Big win for Boeing, big loss for Lockheed.
Definitely. It's interesting that former President Trump has already hinted at potential foreign sales for Boeing's F-47.
So there could be geopolitical implications as well.
Possibly. These defense contracts can have ripple effects.
Wow, we covered a lot of ground today. From airport shutdowns to self-driving cars to whistleblower lawsuits to trade wars to celebrity investments. It's been a wild ride.
And it all highlights how interconnected our world is.
One thing that really struck me is how vulnerable we are to disruptions, whether it's a power outage or a safety issue or a global pandemic.
That's a key takeaway. We need to think about resilience and redundancy in all aspects of our lives.
And it's amazing how technology is changing everything. Self-driving cars, artificial intelligence, it's all happening so fast.
And it raises a lot of questions about the future of work, the ethics of technology, and even the nature of human connection.
It's a lot to process.
It is. But it's also incredibly exciting to be living in such a transformative time.
So what's the biggest takeaway for our listeners today? What should they be thinking about?
I think the key question is, how are these events shaping our world? And what role do we want to play in shaping the future?
That's a great question. It's something we all need to consider.
Absolutely. The decisions we make today will have a profound impact on the world of tomorrow.
Thanks for joining me today. This has been a fascinating conversation.
My pleasure. Always enjoy our discussions.
And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in.
And keep those questions coming.
We'll see you next time.
Until then.